I'm going to say thank you, Ojas, and going to quickly jump there. This session is Ask the Experts, right? And what are we going to ask the experts? Of course, we're going to ask the experts, how is digital banking helping the banking for the unbanked, right? We have Siddhartha Sanyal. He is the senior economist with Bandhan Bank with more than 20 years of experience in economic research across various domains. He has previously worked with Reserve Bank of India, also with Edelweiss Capital and Barclays. We have previously had speakers from RBI and Barclays here as well. He's been rated as a top economist in India, and he's joining us virtually today. And in a minute, I will be standing or sitting right next to him. Siddharth has deep understanding of the underbanked and unbanked segments, which is, in other words, the bottom of the pyramid. And I think that's where the economic growth of India is going to come from. So, without further ado, let me jump straight to the chair.
Hi, Nikhil. Am I audible?
You are audible. Just to give you a sense, you have an audience of about 70 to 80 people here, waiting eagerly to hear what you're saying. And let me jump straight through with my first question.
Sure.
So that, first and foremost, why? Why does India have such a large unbanked population?
But before we start, my sincere apologies for not being there in person. I was keen to be there along with you all guys. Somehow not in town today, so couldn't make it in person. But at least we could connect virtually. And that possibly sets the tone in a way, right? That in case of some eventuality, and COVID possibly has taught that to us in a much more apt and befitting and emphatic way, that you can actually add, stack up on the brick and mortar efforts through our digital route. But without much ado, I would like to say that I'll possibly give one or two examples from what we get to see in my current job as a chief economist and a member of the core management team of Bandhan Bank, which is actually leading or a very significant player so far as financial inclusion is concerned. So basically, what we get to see that still we have a large number of pockets, especially in certain parts of the country, not necessarily everywhere, where there is still, if I try to take brick and mortar activity, the cost is very, very high. Now, we all know that. Now, the key question is how we can bypass that, or how some of the banks which has actually progressed, how it is doing that. For example, I can again come back to my bank's example. And this has been a bank for the last about 8 years. And prior to that, it was in another avatar within the BFSI space. But what we have seen in the last 8 years, instead of going for a large-scale, full-fledged bank branch, we innovated some kind of a light touch. I shouldn't say light touch, but limited offering, no-frill bank account, bank branch, which we call banking unit, in deep interior rural areas where at a manageable cost, we could deliver all the services. To what extent we could deliver services, we often internally quote one particular number. And when the first time it was told to me, it was really, really mind-boggling. Say, for about the 30,000 or 25 to 30,000 field force that we have, how much to what extent they actually reach out to people in the unbanked areas? On an average, if they travel, each of them on an average, if they travel something like 12 kilometers a day, which they easily do, they possibly do a lot more, we very proudly flag one particular statistics in some of our publications, annual reports, etc. The total distance my field force covers every day is something close to 4 lakh kilometers a day, which is slightly more than the distance of moon from Earth, right? So that's the distance they cover. So we had been setting up a banking unit, which is a no-frill or low-cost bank branch, you can say. On top of that, from that particular point, my people had been traveling this distance each and every day, day in and day out. But till about 5 years back, we had to rely only on these two channels. Gradually, over the last 5 years, what has changed on top of this, we are adding very significantly on our digital efforts so that the penetration and reach can be even better.
Interesting. I think the next step for Bandhan Bank is to have a branch on the moon. But jokes apart, I think a few segments within, right? You mentioned that how you are now reaching the underbanked to not just the physical means but also digital means within the different segments. For example, in the rural areas, the women folk, right? Those are the segments which maybe even lack the financial literacy even more, right? So, what can be done to actually support financial literacy for the underbanked? And then a very related question now, because we're talking of financial literacy and also the technological literacy hand in hand because of the digital channels. So what can be done to improve both these areas and maybe for specific segments which typically lack the opportunity to do these?
Let me try to explain. That's thanks for this particular question. It's a very, very pertinent one. Just to give you a sense, Bandhan Bank is a pan-India universal bank. It has many different lines of businesses, verticals, etc. But we still have roughly about half of our asset book in the microfinance business. Say at the start of the journey 8 years back, it was 100% in microfinance. We are diversifying. We are going into different areas where the other businesses like housing, MSME, some of the other areas are expanding very significantly. But still, just to set the context, we still have roughly half of our book in microfinance. Now, predominantly, these customers are women customers. So here we are talking about something like more than 1 crore active customers who are women. So we are into a situation or a drive or a mission where actually this financial inclusion we are taking deep inside not only the rural areas, but in case of a household, almost to the kitchen. Now, what is very important for us and what we found that it was very important for us to ensure, given the socio-economic backdrop, at times we have seen that the husband of the family or some of the grown-up kids, they often have a significant say so far as some of these activities is concerned. Our attempt had always been to ensure that we are fine if they get involved in a constructive way, but at the same time, I want to ensure that my customer, who is my primarily the person with whom the bank is in touch, we want to ensure that she is absolutely capable of handling everything on her own. So two things we wanted to do. We wanted to go for a very well-assisted digital literacy program. So the person, the 30-odd thousand person that we are talking about, the number today is actually much higher than that. But the persons who are actually facing the lady there, at the doorstep of her house, is teaching her keeping the teaching module very, very simple. Don't teach too many things. Just teach 2 or 3 things at the maximum, which can actually allow her to deposit money, withdraw money, see her statement, something like that. And that has worked beautifully for us, number one. Number two, in case of a doubt, we try to ensure that there is one physical brick and mortar branch or a very light branch somewhere within the vicinity, which she can aspire to reach out to, or can in reality reach out to if there is a need. So that has also worked beautifully. I'm talking about a time 7, 8 years back or 5 years back, when we used to have something like a handhold machine, like a credit card POS machine that we typically see in very many merchant outlets. My people used to, walk around in the rural areas with that, and the slips, etc., were generated. Today, actually, these people walk around with a tab, and everything like a tab banking that you get to see in the drawing rooms of Mumbai or Delhi. This we have actually taken to the deep interior rural India also. Many other banks are also doing it. For us, the difference is the scale, and for us, the approach has been an assisted model for the lady, and typically we just try to focus on 2 or 3 things and try very seriously not to go beyond that, so as to she doesn't get confused. And that has worked beautifully for us.
Beautifully said, Siddhartha. You actually echo a thought that was shared earlier in the morning. I know there's some feedback here, but we had a thought earlier in the morning where Felipe who joined us from UK from Revolut, he actually said the same thing, keeping it simple. So I think it's a secret mantra that maybe the audience is going to take back from the current conversation. I have 2 more questions, and then then we can have a quick check if there is any audience question. But look, we've been speaking about the digital channels from the customer point of view, the ease for the customers. Let's talk about it from the bank's point of view, right? Typically, these, when we're talking about the bottom of the pyramid, we're talking about, unsecured loans. We are talking of people with maybe do not have enough documentation. So from a risk point of view, how does that impact a bank?
No, I think their digital and physical doesn't make too much of a difference. I think the key thing here is for my credit evaluation department or underwriting department, how well they know the customer. And this is not the KYC that we talk about in terms of documentation. We know that we are dealing in this particular vertical of ours, we are dealing with a segment where she doesn't have enough documents, papers, bank person, etc. But it's not that something by accident. That has been the focus, that has been the mission, that has been the objective, that's the goal. So we just try to equip ourselves better and better towards that objective. So I don't think any challenge whatsoever there. So the strength of this particular vertical of mine is actually knowing the customer's business inside out very well in advance. So this has been the strength of this particular unit for many, many years, for about a couple of decades, and even after it turned into a bank. On top of that, what we have done that over the course of the last few years, we have enhanced it further with better data analytics efforts. So we now have a very strong, vibrant data analytics team. For these people also, we do take recourse to various bureau data, various internal transaction data, and we do sit on almost a gold mine of data where we have something like today, the active customer in this particular segment is more than 1 crore, and some of them have history for the last 20 years, and all the data is there in the system. So we do run very rich, very detailed, very rigorous analytics exercises, and that gives us a much better focused approach in terms of selection, in terms of early warning, etc., if any, which is the new addition over the course of the last 3-4 years, I would tend to say. So I don't see too much of a challenge because it's unsecured. because the mission is to help them hold their hands in their journey to become a move eventually from an informal to formal sector.
Thanks. Appreciate that point about not having that big a difference when it comes to the KYC and So my final question, Siddhartha, is what kind of government initiatives are there that is supporting the digital banking for the unbanked? How is that helping? Have you seen anything that is already working, and what more would you like to see?
That's a very pertinent question too. My sense is that the broad focus or overall focus, a very serious focus in terms of taking digital initiatives, including digital banking to the next level, is commendable. It's actually not an option for the system. It has to move in that particular direction. Some of the units like us are fortunate to have a very rigorous and strong field force network, etc. But in today's world, it will be foolish to rely completely on that, or if we don't try to equip them with additional weapons like better digital experiences for customer or better analytical rigor at our end. So we do focus on that. From the government's point of view, the regulations are generally, we find that the regulations to be quite pro-digital activities, which is very encouraging. Generally, the physical network is expanding at a rapid pace. I think overall, there has been a very significant progress on some of the areas like rural electrification over the course of the last decade or so, which is also a very favorable thing for overall physical infrastructure to function more seamlessly. The benefits and mindset change we are witnessing now. I think one last factor which remains very important, and it's heartening to see that central banks, RBI, government all do talk about that. How exactly you enhance awareness on the part of customers, especially at the bottom of the pyramid? How exactly you enhance the risk mitigation processes then? For example, I'd possibly say that financial literacy plus digital financial literacy is such an important factor today. Mm-hmm. My sense is that at some point of time, we need to think that whether this can actually qualify as a CSR activity for various firms, including the BFSI organizations. You can possibly have a lot better focused drive there and actually benefit the entire ecosystem through these efforts, which we don't get to see in that scale today. So some of these initiatives need to come, but the focus is clearly from central bank, regulator, government, and which is really heartening to see.
Very interesting. Even as you were speaking, Siddharth, I think one image that flashed in my mind was Amitabh Bachchan actually saying, RBI kehta hai satark raho. So it is a great way to actually talk about, the digital financial literacy that the government initiatives are doing. With that, Siddharth, I think we are completely, off the time that we have for this particular session. Really appreciate the time that you've taken to join us virtually. I cannot give you the memento that we had planned, but I promise you that once you're back in Mumbai, we will meet up and I can give that to you. Right now, I will leave you with the thunderous applause from the audience.
Very much.
Thank you so much.
And once more, my apologies for not being there in person.
Thank you so much.